High Overseer Nexel of the Vexari Empire stood motionless before the quantum display, his crystalline appendages refracting light in patterns that indicated severe distress. The feed showed a human mining vessel, the first of their kind encountered in deep space, responding to the Vexari's meticulously crafted first contact protocol in a way that defied millennia of established cosmic diplomacy. "They're singing to us," reported second analyst Kira, her voice modulation suggesting disbelief. "And not in any recognized formal pattern. It appears to be something called rock music from their cultural database." The human vessel, a rugged industrial craft named Lucky Strike, had been discovered operating in the outer reaches of the Carina Nebula. Standard procedure dictated sending the universal greeting, a carefully orchestrated sequence of mathematical and electromagnetic signals developed over thousands of years of peaceful first contacts. Instead of responding with the expected acknowledgement patterns, the humans had patched through their ship's audio system and started broadcasting what their database identified as "Welcome to the Jungle" by an Earth musical group. "Perhaps their translation matrices are malfunctioning," suggested First Commander Ven, his crystalline form shifting uncomfortably. "No," Nexel responded, analytical patterns rippling across his surface. "Their systems successfully decoded our greeting. They're choosing to respond this way." He paused, processing this unprecedented situation. "They've attached a text message to the transmission." The message appeared on the quantum display. "Hey there, space friends. Hope you like Earth classics. We figured since you went through all the trouble of saying hi, we might as well throw a proper welcome party. Anyone up for coffee? We've got a fresh pot brewing." Nexel's diplomatic training had prepared him for countless scenarios, but nothing like this. The Vexari Empire had contacted 15 different spacefaring civilizations over its history. Each interaction followed predictable patterns of formal exchange, cautious negotiation, and carefully measured responses. These humans weren't just breaking protocol, they were gleefully ignoring it. "They're broadcasting again," Kira announced. "Visual feed this time." The quantum display shifted to show the interior of the human vessel. Instead of a formal delegation, they saw what appeared to be their mess hall. Crew members were gathered around a table laden with various containers and what appeared to be food items. One human, wearing what looked like a worn jacket with numerous patches, raised a steaming cup toward the camera. "I'm Captain Sarah Chen of the Lucky Strike," she announced with a grin that exposed her teeth, a gesture that would be considered highly aggressive in most cosmic cultures. "We're just a bunch of deep space miners who happened to strike it lucky meeting you folks. Thought we might skip the formal dance and get straight to making friends. Anyone interested in learning how humans do first contact?" The Vexari command staff exchanged electromagnetic pulses of confusion. Their species had evolved to prize order, logic, and careful deliberation. Every action was weighted against millennia of accumulated wisdom and protocol. These humans seem to operate on entirely different principles. "Their ship's design is inefficient," First Commander Ven noted, analyzing the visual feed. "Multiple redundant systems, manual override capabilities, and what appears to be a dedicated entertainment section. How do they function in deep space with such chaos?" "That's what interests me," Nexel responded, his crystalline form pulsing with unexpected patterns of curiosity. "They've achieved faster than light travel, established deep space mining operations, and developed advanced life support systems, all while maintaining what appears to be a completely illogical approach to cosmic existence." The Lucky Strike's crew continued their impromptu celebration, seemingly unconcerned about the historic nature of this first contact. They shared stories, laughed at jokes the Vexari couldn't comprehend, and continued offering to share their coffee, a stimulant beverage that, according to their freely shared database, they consumed in vast quantities. "High Overseer," Kira interrupted, her form flickering with urgency. "Long-range scans are detecting unusual radiation patterns from their mining operation. They're using controlled quantum fluctuations to extract rare elements." "Impossible," Venn declared. That level of precision requires complete environmental control and perfect mathematical models. Their ship's chaos would make such operations successful. Nexel finished, watching as the scans confirmed the impossible. They're achieving fusion-level extraction efficiency while maintaining what appears to be a completely disordered social and operational structure. The humans had meanwhile started explaining their mining technique, complete with hand-drawn diagrams on what they called a whiteboard, and frequent interruptions for jokes and personal anecdotes. Their method was unorthodox, innovative, and completely at odds with established cosmic engineering principles. And it worked. For the first time in his long existence as High Overseer, Nexel felt something he'd never experienced before: the excitement of complete uncertainty. These humans weren't just another spacefaring species to be cataloged and carefully integrated into the cosmic community. They represented something entirely new, a challenge to everything the Vexeri thought they knew about civilization's path to the stars. "Prepare a response," he commanded, his crystalline form shimming with complex patterns of anticipation. Tell them we accept their invitation for coffee." As the message was sent, Nexel couldn't help but wonder if this encounter would change not just human history, but the very nature of cosmic civilization itself. The universe, it seemed, had more surprises in store than even the ancient Vexeri Empire had imagined. 3 standard cycles had passed since the first contact with the mining vessel Lucky Strike, and the Vexeri High Council chamber was in unprecedented disarray. The crystalline beings who prided themselves on perfect order were facing a situation that defied their every attempt at categorization. "They're expanding their operations," First Commander Venn projected, his form crackling with distress patterns, "not according to any logical progression model, but seemingly at random. They're establishing mining outposts without conducting standard geological surveys." High Overseer Nexel absorbed the information, his crystalline structure refracting light in contemplative patterns. The quantum displays surrounding the council chamber showed dozens of human vessels, each operating with what the Vexeri would consider reckless abandon. Yet their success rates were undeniable. "Show me the Helios sector," Nexel commanded. The display shifted to reveal a region the Vexeri had long ago designated as too unstable for resource extraction. Human ships swarmed the area like insects, weaving through solar flares and magnetic storms that should have made their equipment malfunction. "Their shield configurations make no sense," Second Analyst Kira observed, her form pulsing with fascination. "They're modulating them in real time, based on what they call gut feelings rather than predictive algorithms. It shouldn't work, but it does," Nexel finished, "just like everything else they do." The council chamber's perfect hexagonal architecture seemed to vibrate with tension as more data poured in. Humans weren't just mining. They were innovating, adapting, and worst of all, influencing other species. "The Zentari have requested human consulting for their deep space operations," Venn reported, his distress patterns intensifying. "The Murith are studying human ship designs. Even the silicon-based Quiltrax are expressing interest in what they call human inefficiency advantages." Nexel moved to the center of the chamber, his crystalline form casting complex shadows as he accessed the main data stream. The humans had accomplished more in 3 cycles than most species managed in 30. Their chaotic approach to space exploration was spreading, challenging the very foundations of cosmic civilization. "High Overseer," a new voice interrupted. Junior Analyst Zell, barely 1,000 years old, projected her thoughts with unusual urgency. "You need to see this. It's from the Lucky Strike." The quantum display shifted again, showing Captain Sarah Chen's familiar face. She looked tired but excited, her human expression still bewildering to Vexeri sensibilities. Behind her, her crew was celebrating something. "Hey there, crystal friends," she began, using the informal greeting that still sent shudders through traditional Vexeri. "Remember that unstable quantum pocket you warned us about in the Carina Nebula? Well, funny story. The display split to show what appeared to be a swirling vortex of energy, precisely the type of phenomenon the Vexari carefully avoided. The Lucky Strike was positioned at its edge, extending what looked like a makeshift probe into the chaos. "We figured out it's not actually unstable," Chen continued, pausing to sip from her ever-present coffee cup. "It's just got a weird rhythm to it. Kind of like jazz. You know, that music we sent you. Once we stopped trying to predict it and started feeling it." "Impossible," Ven interrupted, but his protest lacked conviction. They'd all learned that word had little meaning when applied to humans. The data streaming alongside the video was irrefutable. The humans had not only safely navigated the quantum pocket, but had discovered a way to harvest its energy. Their method defied every principle of quantum mechanics the Vexari had established over millennia of study. They're using variations in their shield harmonics to match the pocket's fluctuations, Kira analyzed, her form brightening with excitement. The variations aren't calculated. They're improvised based on real-time feedback. It's like dancing, Nexel supplied, remembering the human concept from their cultural database. They're dancing with the quantum forces. The council chamber erupted in electromagnetic disturbance as the implications became clear. The Vexari had achieved their dominance in the cosmos through perfect order, through careful calculation and precise execution. These humans were achieving similar results through almost opposite means. "There's more," Zell projected hesitantly. "The Lucky Strike's crew. They're teaching their methods to a Zentari mining crew. The Zentari are attempting to replicate human problem-solving approaches." Nexel watched the footage of Zentari miners, known throughout the galaxy for their rigid adherence to procedure, attempting to adopt human-style improvisation. The results were mixed, often comedic, but occasionally brilliant. "They're changing everything," Ven observed, his distress now tinged with something else. Curiosity. Not through force or superior technology, but through chaos. "Not chaos," Nexel corrected, his crystalline form pulsing with new understanding. "Adaptation. Evolution. We've spent millennia perfecting our methods, becoming more ordered, more precise. But these humans, they've evolved to thrive on uncertainty itself." The quantum display showed more scenes from across charted space. Human mining ships diving into stellar phenomena that Vexari ships wouldn't approach. Human crews solving complex engineering problems through what they called brainstorming, a process that seemed to involve equal parts scientific discussion and random speculation. "The question before this council," Nexel projected, his thoughts reaching every corner of the chamber, "is no longer how to maintain order in the face of human chaos. It's whether our definition of order itself needs to evolve." The chamber fell silent, its crystalline occupants processing this radical suggestion. For a species that had built its civilization on predictability and control, the idea was almost incomprehensible. Almost. "The humans have a saying," Nexel continued, accessing their cultural database. "The only constant is change. Perhaps it's time we learn what that truly means." The Vexari Empire's attempt to contain human expansion had backfired spectacularly. Their carefully orchestrated trade restrictions and navigational barriers, designed to isolate human colonies and mining operations, had instead sparked what humans called creative solutions. High Overseer Nexel found himself once again studying footage that defied explanation. "They've established a thriving colony on XO 459. Second Analyst Kira reported, her crystalline form flickering with mixed patterns of disbelief and admiration. "A planet we classified as uninhabitable due to its extreme gravitational fluctuations." The quantum display showed a sprawling human settlement built into the side of a mountain range. Instead of fighting the planet's chaotic gravity, they'd incorporated it into their design. Buildings swayed and flexed, their foundations anchored by dynamic support systems that looked more organic than engineered. "How are they maintaining structural integrity?" First Commander Ven demanded, his form rigid with confusion. "The gravitational forces should tear those buildings apart within days." They're not maintaining it. At least not in the way we understand maintenance, Kira explained. They've designed the entire colony to move with the gravitational shifts. The buildings actually change shape as needed. Nexel moved closer to the display, studying the details. The humans had dubbed their colony New Singapore, and it was clear they weren't just surviving. They were flourishing. Markets bustled with activity. Children played in parks protected by adaptive force fields, and most surprisingly, ships from other species were beginning to dock at their unconventional spaceport. The Quiltrax have established a permanent trading post there, junior analyst Zell added, projecting images of the silicon-based beings setting up their crystalline structures alongside human buildings. They claim the gravitational fluctuations actually enhance their crystallization processes. Of course they do, Ven muttered, his patterns showing resignation. Just like the radiation storms on Outpost Beta supposedly improved human agricultural yields. The mention of Outpost Beta caused a ripple of electromagnetic disturbance through the chamber. The human colony there had been established in direct defiance of Vexori warnings about the planet's intense radiation cycles. Instead of failing, the humans had discovered that certain Earth crops, when exposed to the radiation, produced unprecedented yields and developed new beneficial properties. Captain Chen is requesting an audience, Zell announced suddenly. The Lucky Strike has completed its survey of the Deneb sector. The quantum display shifted to show Sarah Chen, her face marked with new scars, but wearing the same irrepressible grin they'd come to recognize. Behind her, her crew was celebrating yet another successful mission. "Hey there, favored crystalline beings," she began, ignoring formal protocols as usual. "You'll never guess what we found in those dead zones you warned us about. Turns out they're not so dead after all, just needed a different perspective." The data streaming alongside her transmission told an incredible story. The Lucky Strike had ventured into regions of space the Vexori had long ago designated as void of useful resources, using what they called unconventional scanning methods, which seemed to involve deliberately introducing interference patterns into their sensors. They'd discovered entire new categories of exotic matter. "We're calling them quantum pearls," Chen explained, holding up a swirling sphere of energy contained in a makeshift force field. They form in the chaos between space-time fluctuations. Pretty, aren't they? And the energy output is off the charts. This violates 17 different laws of quantum physics, Ven protested weakly. "Only if you assume space-time is supposed to behave itself," Chen replied with a laugh. "We've learned it's more fun when you let it get a little wild. Speaking of which, we're hosting a multicultural festival at New Singapore next cycle. Consider this your formal invitation, though we'll probably have to loosen up those formal protocols of yours." After the transmission ended, Nexel stood in contemplative silence. The quantum displays around him showed scenes from across human space. Colonies thriving in impossible conditions, ships navigating unstable regions with casual ease, and most significantly, other species beginning to adopt human methodologies. "They're not just adapting to hostile environments," he projected finally. "They're teaching the entire galaxy to see potential where we saw only chaos." "High Overseer," Kira interjected, her form pulsing with urgency. "Long-range scans are detecting unusual activity in the Carina Nebula quantum pocket. The humans appear to be constructing something." The display shifted to show a massive structure taking shape within the swirling quantum energies. It defied conventional engineering principles, its form constantly shifting and adapting to the chaotic forces around it. Ships from multiple species moved around it in what should have been impossible coordination. "They're building a space station," Zell realized, her young form brightening with excitement. "Right in the middle of a quantum storm." "Not just a space station," Nexel corrected, accessing the project specifications that the humans had freely shared. "They're building what they call a crossroads, a meeting point for all spacefaring species to share knowledge and resources." The implications were staggering. The humans weren't just refusing to be contained. They were actively transforming the galaxy's understanding of what was possible. Their chaos was proving to be more productive than millennia of careful Vexari order. Perhaps, Nexel projected thoughtfully, it's time we stop trying to make the universe conform to our expectations and instead learn to dance with it, as the humans do. The chamber's perfect crystalline architecture seemed to pulse in response, as if the very structure of Vexari civilization was beginning to understand the value of flexibility over rigidity, of adaptation over preservation. The age of perfect order was ending. The era of creative chaos had begun. No one saw the quantum cascade coming. Not the Vexari with their precise predictive models, nor the humans with their intuitive understanding of chaos. When the disruption began at the edge of the Carina Nebula, it threatened everything both species had built. High Overseer Nexel stood in the emergency command center aboard the human station Crossroads, his crystalline form reflecting the swirling chaos visible through the quantum-reinforced windows. Beside him, Captain Sarah Chen of the Lucky Strike studied holographic projections of the expanding disturbance. The quantum pocket is collapsing, Nexel projected, his patterns showing deep concern. Our model suggests total destabilization within 3 standard cycles. Every colony, every station, every ship in this sector will be torn apart at the quantum level. Chen took a long sip from her coffee cup, her face illuminated by the holographic displays. Your models assume space-time wants to behave itself, she said thoughtfully. But what if we stop trying to predict it and start working with it instead? The command center was a perfect metaphor for their species' collaboration. Vexari crystalline terminals interfaced with human holographic systems in ways their designers never intended. Order and chaos, precision and improvisation, merged into something entirely new. The quantum cascade is increasing exponentially. Second analyst Kira reported, her form pulsing with urgency. Standard containment procedures are failing. Then let's try some non-standard ones, Chen replied, gesturing to her chief engineer, Dr. Maya Rodriguez. Maya, remember that crazy idea you had about quantum harmonics? Rodriguez, a woman whose lab coat was covered in handwritten equations and coffee stains, stepped forward. It's completely theoretical, she warned. We'd be trying to sync our shield frequencies with the cascade itself, essentially surfing the quantum wave instead of fighting it. That violates every principle of quantum mechanics we've established. First, Commander Venn protested, but his patterns showed more curiosity than rejection. Most of our best ideas started as violations of established principles, Shen pointed out with a grin. High Overseer, we're going to need your people's precision for this. We can feel the rhythm of the cascade, but you can measure it exactly. Nexel studied the humans' hastily drawn diagrams and complex equations. Their plan was absolutely absurd. And yet, hadn't every human achievement seemed that way at first? What do you need from us? The next hours were a blur of activity. Vexari crystalline ships formed a perfect geometric pattern around the expanding cascade, their sensors gathering data with unmatched precision. Human vessels wove between them in seemingly random patterns, testing different shield configurations and energy pulses. It's like a dance, Rodriguez explained as she worked with Kira to integrate their systems. Your ships provide the rhythm, ours improvise the moves. We just need to find the right frequency. A massive shockwave rocked the station. Containment field failing in sectors 7 through 12, Venn reported, his form crackling with stress patterns. Good, Chen exclaimed, earning bewildered looks from the Vexari. That means we're getting close to matching its frequency. Push more power to those sectors. Captain, Nexel projected carefully, if we divert power to failing sectors, we risk taking a crazy risk to achieve the impossible. Chen finished. Welcome to how humans do things, High Overseer. Sometimes you have to let things break a little to figure out how to fix them properly. The quantum displays showed their combined fleet moving like nothing either species had seen before. Vexari precision created a framework of perfect geometric patterns, while human ships darted through the gaps, their irregular movements somehow strengthening the overall formation. We're detecting unusual harmonics, Kira reported suddenly. The cascade. It's responding to our combined field. Rodriguez's eyes lit up as she studied the data. It's working. The quantum fluctuations are synchronizing with our shield matrix. But we need more power, more variance in the field. Our ships cannot deviate from their positions without losing precision. Ven stated, his patterns showing frustration. Then don't, Chen suggested. Stay exactly where you are. Maintain that perfect pattern. We'll handle the chaos part. What followed would be studied by both species for generations to come. The Vexeri fleet held their formation with mathematical precision, creating a stable framework of quantum fields. Human ships danced through the gaps, their seemingly random movements creating complex interference patterns that matched and eventually began to calm the cascade's chaos. It's like a symphony, Rodriguez breathed, watching the energy patterns shift. Order and chaos in perfect balance. Not balance, Nexel corrected, his crystalline form pulsing with sudden understanding. Harmony. We're not containing the cascade. We're joining its dance. The quantum pocket that had threatened to tear apart spacetime began to stabilize, but not in the way either species expected. Instead of returning to its previous state, it transformed into something new, a swirling matrix of energy that combined Vexeri precision with human unpredictability. Look at the energy readings, Kira projected excitedly. The pocket isn't just stable. It's creating new quantum structures, patterns we've never seen before. Chen smiled, raising her coffee cup in a toast. Sometimes the best solutions come from embracing imperfection. Your precision gave us the foundation, but it was the irregularities, the human element, that let us connect with the quantum field itself. Nexel watched as the combined fleet maintained their strange dance around the transformed quantum pocket. Perhaps, he projected thoughtfully, perfection isn't about achieving absolute order. Perhaps it's about finding the right balance between order and chaos. Balance. Chen laughed. Nah, more like a really good party where everyone brings something different to the mix. Speaking of which, she gestured to a crew member who began distributing cups of coffee to the bewildered Vexeri. As Nexel held the strange human beverage in a specially adapted container, he realized that his species' pursuit of perfection had been imperfect all along. True advancement, true understanding, came not from eliminating chaos, but from learning to work with it. The quantum pocket that had nearly destroyed them now pulsed with new possibilities, a testament to what could be achieved when different approaches combined in unexpected ways. It was messy, unpredictable, and absolutely beautiful. The Great Hall of the Galactic Concordat had never seen anything quite like this gathering. Representatives from 15 spacefaring civilizations sat, stood, or floated according to their nature, all focused on the peculiar phenomenon being displayed in the center of the chamber, a holographic recreation of humanity's journey to the stars. High Overseer Nexel, now serving as the chief Vexeri representative to this unprecedented assembly, watched as Captain Sarah Chen presented their findings. The Lucky Strike's captain had traded her mining gear for what humans called business casual attire, though she still clutched her ever-present coffee cup. What we're seeing across human space isn't just adaptation, Chen explained, gesturing to the swirling display of quantum data. It's a completely different approach to evolution itself. The hologram showed scenes from human colonies across the galaxy, the gravity-dancing buildings of New Singapore, the radiation-enhanced farms of Outpost Beta, and the transformed quantum pocket that had nearly destroyed them all. But it was the pattern emerging from these seemingly chaotic successes that had caught the attention of every species present. The Vexeri's path to the stars was one of perfect order. Nexel projected, his crystalline form casting complex shadows through the holographic display. The Zentari achieved spaceflight through rigid hierarchy. The Quiltrax evolved through pure logic. But humans, he paused, his patterns showing a mix of wonder and understanding. Humans evolved to embrace uncertainty itself. A Quiltrax representative, their silicon-based form glittering with analytical patterns, raised an appendage. Our studies of human neural architecture show what we initially classified as errors, random neural pathways, seemingly inefficient connections. We now believe these imperfections are the source of their unique capabilities. Chen nodded, bringing up new data streams. We don't just adapt to chaos. We thrive on it. Every human achievement, from our first steps into space to our latest innovations, came from what other species might call mistakes or accidents. The hologram shifted to show the interior of a human research facility, where scientists were deliberately introducing random variables into their experiments. Next to it, footage from a human art studio showed creators making intentional mistakes to discover new forms of expression. Your species actively seeks out chaos, observed the Zentari elder, their hierarchical thought patterns visibly disturbed by the concept. You create it when it does not exist. Because that's where the magic happens, Chen replied with a grin. Every human child knows that the best discoveries come from asking, what if, and then doing exactly what everyone says is impossible. The display showed the quantum pocket again, now a stable phenomenon that defied traditional physics. The combined fleet of human and Vexeri ships continued their strange dance around it, maintaining the delicate balance between order and chaos that had saved the sector. We've been studying the wrong kind of perfection, Nexel projected, moving to stand beside Chen. For millennia, we believed evolution meant moving toward perfect order. But look at the cosmos itself. It's a dance between order and chaos, between predictability and uncertainty. The hologram expanded to show the entire known galaxy, with human influence spreading like a web of creative disruption. Wherever they went, other species began to experiment, to question their assumptions, to embrace a little bit of chaos in their own evolution. Humanity isn't just another spacefaring species, Chen continued, her voice filled with quiet pride. We're the universe's wild card. We're what happens when evolution decides to bet everything on adaptability itself. A murmur went through the assembly as the implications became clear. The Vexeri had achieved technological mastery through perfect order. The Quiltrax had mastered energy through pure logic. The Zentari had built empires through unbreakable hierarchy. But humans had achieved similar results by breaking all the rules. The quantum cascade event proved something remarkable, Nexel projected. When we combined Vexeri precision with human chaos, we didn't just solve a crisis, we discovered an entirely new state of matter. Imagine what we could achieve if we all learned to dance between order and chaos. Chen set down her coffee cup and touched the holographic display, causing it to shift to a view of Earth. Back home, we have this old saying, life finds a way. We never really understood what that meant until we reached the stars. It doesn't mean life survives by becoming perfect. It survives by staying flexible, by taking chances, by making beautiful mistakes. The assembly chamber filled with the electromagnetic equivalent of contemplative silence as each species processed this revelation. They had all achieved spacefaring status by minimizing uncertainty, by establishing perfect systems. Humans had done it by embracing uncertainty as a tool of progress itself. We propose a new initiative, Nexel announced, his form glowing with purpose. Not to perfect our civilizations, but to perfect our ability to adapt. To learn from humanity's gift for creative chaos while maintaining our own strengths. A galaxy-wide experiment in controlled chaos. The Quiltrax representative asked, their crystalline form showing both concern and curiosity. We prefer to call it organized adventure, Chen replied with a laugh. Less scary that way. Although, she picked up her coffee cup again, eyes twinkling. Sometimes a little fear is exactly what you need to discover something amazing. As the assembly debated this radical proposal, Nexel reflected on how far they'd all come. His species had sought perfection through order for millennia, only to discover that true perfection lay in the balance between order and chaos, between certainty and possibility. The humans hadn't just changed how the galaxy traveled among the stars. They'd changed how every species thought about evolution itself. They were living proof that the path to the future wasn't always a straight line. Sometimes it was a wild dance, a crazy experiment, a beautiful mistake that turned out to be exactly right. The universe, it seemed, had evolved humans for exactly this role, to be the wild card that kept cosmic civilization from stagnating in its pursuit of perfection. They were the chaos that made the order meaningful, the uncertainty that made certainty worthwhile. And as Nexel watched Chen draw more species into her discussion of organized adventure, he realized that perhaps this was the greatest perfection of all, not the absence of chaos, but the courage to dance with it.